Professor Robson, for a very important presentation. Since we all eat, I hope you paid very good attention to the presentation. And now I would like to remind you, we do not take questions from the floor. The questions need to be written down. The monitors will pick up your questions, and we will answer as many questions as time permits. Our next presenter is Kateryna Pavlova, head of the International Affairs of Ukraine on Exclusion Zone Management. Ms. Pavlova, you have the floor.
Your Excellency, dear colleagues and guests, I am pleased to be here today. Thank you, Christina Durbak, to having me today here. My name is Kateryna Pavlova. I'm a head of International Cooperation and Public Relations Department of the State Agency of Ukraine on Exclusion Zone Management. As you all know, Chernobyl disaster is a technical, ecological, and humanitarian catastrophe caused by two thermal explosions of the first power unit of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant at night of April 26, 1986. The reactor was completely destroyed, and a large amount of radioactive substance was released into the environment, namely strontium and uranium elements. The catastrophe is considered to be the largest in the history of nuclear energy. As a result, now Ukraine takes the second place in Europe and the first in the world by the amount of radioactive waste. In this regard, our state puts an important role on our agency in long-term storage and disposal of radioactive waste. In Ukraine, State Agency of Exclusion Zone Management is a central exclusive body responsible for strategic directions as follows. Exclusion Zone Management, overcoming the consequences of Chernobyl accident, Chernobyl nuclear power plant decommissioning and transformation of the shelter object into ecology safe system, state management in the area of radioactive waste management, and the storage of the long-term storage and disposal. Talking about the high-level coordination of our activity, it is important to know that we are coordinated by Cabinet of Ministers of Ukraine through the Minister of Ecology. The Chernobyl exclusion zone is the area that has forbidden for free access and has been heavily contaminated by long-lived radionuclides. As of today, the territory is divided into... Back, please. One slide. As of today, the territory is divided into main parts. The 10-kilometer zone is a territory of special industrial use, specially created to place there the facilities of renewable energy and storage for radioactive waste. And the 30-kilometer zone, whereby the degree of the President Chernobyl Radiation and Ecological Biosphere Reserve was created. The territory of special industrial use, so-called 10-kilometer zone, which is around Chernobyl nuclear power plant, will be able, using the highly contaminated territory, to enhance the mechanism of radioactive waste management and create the appropriate infrastructure. There is a number of facilities within the territory designed to store and process radioactive waste. The creation in 1986 of the shelter object of the destroyed first power unit protected the environment from radiation dissemination and people, primarily who work in Chernobyl nuclear power plant site, from contamination. The shelter object has been performed and its protective function for more than 30 years. So the decision was taken to build a new construction to protect people and the environment for longer period, namely new safe confinement. As of today, the construction of new safe confinement, which is the biggest mobile, is completed and moved about the first destroyed unit. The new safe confinement will serve 100 years. Now I'm going to tell you more about 30-kilometer zone, which has renewed itself within 33 years period after Chernobyl disaster. What a miracle! Created within 30 kilometers exclusion zone, the largest reserve in Ukraine is a basis for extremely important and unique nature experiment, not only in my country, but also in the world. Despite the fact that exclusion zone has suffered incredible losses, now it is the center of amazing animal and plant world, we can deny that nature is much more powerful even than such terrible anthropogenic factors in the Chernobyl catastrophe. According to the science, there can be more than 400 species of animals, birds, and fish included to Red Book of Ukraine that need our protection. To date, 300 species have already been identified. 66 species include to Red Book of Ukraine. From 2018, the Chernobyl Radiation and Environment Biosphere Reserve actively participate in the international project and organize the first scientific expedition to study the flora and fauna of the exclusion zone territory. We can define the main goals: preservation of the most typical nature complex of Polysia in the natural state, ensure support and increase the barrier function of the Chernobyl exclusion zone, remediation of the area contaminated of radionuclides, and stabilization of its hydrological regime. The main tasks are as follows: conducting scientific research in the field of environment protection, maintenance of reserve territory with all nature objects, preservation of landscape nature diversity, the gain pool of animal, world, and vegetation, monitoring the overall ecological balance, organization and conduction of international scientific research, conducting of ecological and education work. A part of the marvels of nature in the exclusion zone, there is also culture and historical heritage there. Next slide, please. Yes. For example, antique churches, monuments, and sites which belong to different historic epochs, in total around 200 objects. Of course, we must protect nature, heritage, and facilities and be responsible for their safety. In this regard, one of the problems we face today is the fires in exclusion zone. Due to the existence of red forest spot and exclusion zone, there is a huge risk of fire. That's why we control and monitor the situation, especially during the summertime. The consequences of the fire are quite serious, taking into account that the territory is contaminated with radionuclides. By the way, we have a joint project together with Belarus under the US Forest Service support on the protection of these territories from fire and early fire detection. In Ukraine, we use a radar system for making prognosis and control over radionuclides dissemination due to emergencies, fires, and floods. This slide shows the existing station and fire station planned to be built. The 24-hour monitoring system operating in exclusion zone provides radiation measurements in the air, soil, and water. The monitoring system in the regular mode is updated once an hour and in emergency situation every 2 minutes. This system consists of 39 monitoring pods. The state specialized enterprise eco center provides the control, having a modern laboratory. I would also like you to know that we also developed some new direction, such as organizing of scientific visit to the exclusion zone and provide unique training course. For example, we propose training program which involves gaining knowledge from safety assessment of the nuclear installation, principles of radioactive waste and spent nuclear fuel management, overcoming the consequences of the accident of the nuclear installations, remediation of contaminated environment. The topic of lecture are different, as you may see from this slide, and of course, all participants receive certificates. In March this year, 36 British program participants, nuclear graduate of the British company Energus, employees in the field of nuclear industry passed 2 days training course on the consequences elimination of the disaster at the nuclear power plant. The internship purpose was to familiarize with the nuclear industry aspects in other countries, include technical, social, and public factors that had an impact on the environment. Another interesting training proposed to our Chinese colleague was held in May and September last year. The aim was to get acquainted with the issues of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant accident cases and consequences, modern Ukrainian radiation monitoring system, and the radioactive waste management, as well as the nuclear safety culture. So, as far as you may see, visiting the exclusion zone is possible, but not only with the education purpose. Of course, we prefer not to call this tourism. Starting from 2010, with the aim of informing public at large about the consequences of the largest technological accident, a decision was taken to conduct the scientific visit. Government develop and adopt rules for visitors on visiting the zone. Visits in the zone have become more and more popular. This slide shows how popular the exclusion zone was last year as compared with 2014. By the way, the enterprises under agency permanently developed the infrastructure for providing service to visitors, the information center, a few hotels, and cafeteria. Next slide present different countries from where people come: the Great Britain, the Netherlands, Germany, Poland, the USA, Sweden, and many, many others. The infrastructure and implementation of alternative energy projects in the exclusion zone and consider a new stage of overcoming the consequences of the accident. Today in the Chernobyl zone, there are huge territories that are permanently removed from agriculture production. The infrastructure of power transmission lines is also very developed. It is extremely important for investors to make sure that the network connection will be provided. Starting from 2016, the Ministry of Ecology, together with our agency, carried out complex of measures aimed at sustainable development of green energy in the exclusion zone. This year, we are planning to launch 35-megawatt wind station. The investor for which is Wind Power Policia. October last year, and the industrial site of Chernobyl nuclear power plant official opening ceremony of 1-megawatt solar power plant. Chernobyl is the first nuclear power plant in Ukraine, the first one to start the decommissioning process, the first nuclear power plant where large-scale international projects are being implemented. Today, we are the first nuclear power plant on which site alternative energy is generated. I think it's very positive that the station again has electricity power and they give green energy. The agency will continue to work on the transformation of Chernobyl from black point to green. We are trying to step up data providing our activities in relation to the exclusion zone. Due to the creation of the Chernobyl Radiation and Ecological Biosphere Reserve, in order to reduce the anthropogenic load on the ecosystem, the following is being worked out. The project of replacement of motor vehicles on ecological electric. a draft program for the placement of special electric refueling and service station for electric buses. In September 2018, we made a huge process, first Ukrainian exhibition on Chernobyl's theme in the framework of the General Conference in IAEA, with the involvement of stakeholders. This is a history now, and I'm happy that my colleagues and I are part of this history. The contribution of the international community in terms of efforts to overcome the consequences of Chernobyl disaster is important and considerable. Our agency provides close cooperation with international organizations and countries to strengthen the non-proliferation regime of radioactive materials. IAEA, NATO, European Commission, G7 Global Partnership, USA, United Kingdom, Sweden, Japan, and others. As a traditional, I usually finish my presentation with these words. Do you know who is the symbol of wild nature in the exclusion zone? When in the exclusion zone, if you are lucky, you might come across the symbol of all the animals of Chernobyl, the fox named Simeon. He's even got his page on Facebook. Dear colleagues and delegates, dear guests, thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you, Ms. Pavlova, for a very important update on disaster and what comes if people leave the area alone. I find that fascinating personally. Our next presenter is Dr. Meshkati, who's a fellow from Harvard University. Dr. Meshkati, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rubik. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, particularly my young friends and students, and His Excellency Yevchenko and my dear colleagues on the podium here. It's really indeed a pleasure for me to be here to present my research in the last almost 40 years in the field of complex system safety. And I chose that subtitle of Thinking About Unthinkable because what you see I'm going to be talking about is a cross-cutting problem. It applies to nuclear power plants. I started my research at 3 Mile Island exactly 40 years ago, Chernobyl, and also it applies to other chemical plants and complex technological systems like the Bhopal accident that happened in 1984. Next slide, please. I just want to tell you my life story very briefly. Next one, please. I got involved, and please go through that all the time because I don't have time to, all the way to 2000. Perfect. Yes, keep it there. I got involved in the 3 Mile Island accident 40 years ago because it was attributed to human error. Bhopal accident, the same thing. It killed 2,000 people, injured 200,000. And after 30 years, its death toll reached to 16,000 people. Of course, the Chernobyl accident, that's what we are here for and we are talking about. I was involved in the investigation of the BP refinery explosion in 2005. BP Deepwater Horizon, I was a member of the national panel investigating that, and also Fukushima accident. Next one, please. I have been working with all these industries in the last 40 plus years and with the healthcare industry because you may have heard about wrong site surgery, wrong medication, wrong dosage, and that. The ingredients of that and root causes of these accidents, they have a lot in common with each other. That's what I'm going to get to that. Next one, please. And I've worked with 10 nuclear power plants in US and across the world, and then conducted research on a few more that is listed over here. And these 10 nuclear power plants, I've been there. I have done work on them. Again, I'm not an armchair general. Next one, please. This is the 3 Mile Island nuclear power plant. I am with my mentor, the late Professor Alphonse Japanese. Next one. This is, of course, the Chernobyl nuclear plant that had the accident in 86, and I visited that in 1997. I'm in front of sarcophagus. Next one, please. And this is a photo that my students, they like it a lot. They say, my haircut and looks very much like the head of Lenin over there. I mean, I heard that from my students over there. This is the corridor that runs from the administration building in the Chernobyl nuclear power station to the 4 reactors. Reactor number 4 was the exploded one. At the end of the hallway, I visited reactor number 3, control room when it was operational. Next one, please. Next one. Yes, this is the control room of reactor number 3. It was operational, and as you see, the poor soul on the left is a little overwhelmed with the design of that control panel, because this is against every principles of human factors, and they have done much better since the Chernobyl time. When we talk about single sensor, single indicator, and human machine interface related issue, which is my area of research. Next one, please. I'm in the chair of the shift supervisor, again in reactor number 3. I learned a lot from my Ukrainian friends and colleagues over there. That 2 days at Chernobyl was one of my best days, Ms. Kateryna, and that's what I want to return to Chernobyl. This is another nuclear plant in Japan that's called Mihama that had an accident in 1992. I don't have time to explain that, but I spent a lot of time over there. This next one, please. This is the Mihama. Next one. This is Fukushima Daiichi. I was a member of the National Academy. The gentleman or the guy that in a Tyvek suit and face mask is me. And this is something that I don't want to see again. I don't want to see that in my lifetime again. I've been to Chernobyl. I've been to Fukushima. We cannot afford the third one. And that's why the balance of my talk is how to prevent another major catastrophic accident like these two. And this is my message for the young people over here. You are the future. You should work on preventing the third catastrophic accident. And please listen to me. Next one. This is another nuclear plant. I did a lot of work on that. That's EBR2 reactor, experimental breeder reactor 2 in Idaho Falls. Next one. Now let's look at the common denominator of all these accidents that I talk all the way from 3 Mile Island to BP Deepwater Horizon. And some of this stuff that I talk about applies also to the grounding of the 737. You may say why, you will see why. Please go to the next one. And yeah, these are human factors and safety culture related cross-cutting issues. That's what I want you to remember this fact. These are cross-cutting. Next one, please. I developed a model which is called HOT model, Human Organization Technology Interaction. Next one, please. And then, yes, push that. And another one. Please keep it there. As you see over here, I say that every complex technological system, any large-scale complex technological system, can be decomposed to the combination of these 3 subsystems. Human subsystem, the operators and maintainers and the human element. The organizational subsystem is that entity that takes care of the recruiting, training. It takes care of the preventive medicine, corrective medicine, training, and all of that. And then there is a technological subsystem. All these 3, they are like 3 links in a chain. And reliability and safety is equivalent to that I be able to carry this weight day in and day out. A system failure and accident when you drop the load. And the system failure and accident happens when one of these links breaks down. In that case, my message is we need, in order to keep the link intact, as you heard that a link breaks down at its weakest, a chain breaks down at its weakest link, sorry. A chain breaks down at its weakest link, or a chain is as strong as its weakest link. That's why we need to give equal and adequate attention. These accidents that I mentioned to you, they are all happened because this balance, this equilibrium was not maintained. Next one, please. I think you jumped on one. Maybe you want to go back. Yes, and push one more. Okay. There was another one that I have, it's not there. In the case of the 3 Mile Island, this is the statement. This was the accident happened in Pennsylvania. the distinguished lady on the panel is from that area. This is a report from the Presidential Commission about the importance of safety culture in the 3 Mile Island. And you will see this theme is being repeated again. Safety culture, human error. And that has been my research interest for the last 40 years. Please look at that red segment over there. The principal deficiency in commercial nuclear reactor safety today are not hardware problems, but they are management problems, safety culture problems. That statement was made in 1980. Next one, please. In the case of the Chernobyl, next one, please. This is a report by the International Atomic Energy Agency called INSAC. INSAC stands for International Nuclear Safety Advisory Group. And again, look at those highlighted words in red. This is a report by the INSAC when they went to investigate Chernobyl. It was when the late academician Valery Legazov was still alive. Then he committed suicide on the 2nd anniversary of Chernobyl. By the way, I want to commemorate this academician Valery Legazov, who was a very decent and a fantastic scientist. He died 31 years ago today by committing suicide because of Chernobyl. Safety culture, as you see, this is a quote from International Atomic Energy Agency. Next one, please. And this is the report that highlighted the term safety culture. That's a photo of Dr. Hans Blix, former Director General of International Atomic Energy Agency, who turned 90 years old this year. And this is a very seminal report that Dr. Blix wrote a preface, said that also applies to the other systems and other technologies. And it is intended to stimulate discussion in the nuclear safety. Next one, please. And another report by International Atomic Energy Agency talks about the importance of root causes of Chernobyl being in human element. Again, remember that 2 links in that chain, human subsystem and organizational subsystem. Next one, please. And these are a few other statements about Chernobyl, because today's conference is, of course, on a commemoration of Chernobyl, about the importance of human factors, the importance of human-machine system. And then, as you see that I have a quote from late academician Valery Legazov over there. He developed a lot of respect for this stuff that I'm talking about, which I'm very honored to see that such a distinguished late person said that. Next one, please. Now I want to take you to Fukushima. Again, I have many slides on Fukushima, but I'm going to go through that very fast. Fukushima, next one, please. As you see that this is an aerial photo of Fukushima before the accident. It had 6 reactors, 4 of them were operational during the time. Next one. This is a complicated slide, but I just want to tell you that Fukushima happened because of this. There was an earthquake. Of course, all of us, we know that. Nuclear power plants are designed to shut down after the earthquake, and they shut down. But then the tsunami came after 45 minutes and inundated the plant. And then we have emergency diesel generators so that to cool down the reactors. But because of the inundation of the plant, some of these emergency diesel generators, they got inundated, they couldn't work, and we had what is called a station blackout. This is the most catastrophic thing that could happen in a nuclear plant. Again, sorry, I don't have time to go over that, but Fukushima was not an act of God. Fukushima was preventable. Fukushima was preventable. Next one, please. Next one. This is the title of a report that came out from Carnegie, why Fukushima was preventable. There have been better reports than that came later on. In fact, one article in Royal Society magazine is called Fukushima Was Preventable. And can you push one more? Yeah. This is my colleague, Dr. George Apostolakis, who was a commissioner with Nuclear Regulatory Commission. He said the accident was not extremely low probability. It was not unthinkable or unfeasible or unpreventable. And next one, please. This is a copy of a first page of a Japan Parliament report about Fukushima. Next one. This is the cartoon that was published in the International Herald Tribune when this report was published. On the left is Dr. Kiyoshi Kurokawa, my mentor, who was the chair of this commission. As you see, the industry people and all government, and that they point fingers to each other, to blame each other for that. Next one, please. This is one of the most seminal pieces. This is Dr. Kiyoshi Kurokawa's preface on that report. You can't read that, but 4 places in that preface, he said Fukushima happened because of the mindset in Japan. Fukushima, he says, was an accident made in Japan. This is a very revealing report. Again, he was the head of the independent commission investigated Fukushima on behalf of Japanese parliament. And he's a very authoritative report. Next one, please. There are some excerpts from him. Next one. Again, he said that these are quotes from his reports, which was almost like 800 pages. Thank you. Fukushima was profoundly man-made, and it was have been foreseeable, and it could have been prevented. Next one. Keep it there, please. And again, he says that the Japan nuclear industry managed to avoid absorbing the lessons from 3 Mile Island and Chernobyl. See, learning lessons from past is very important, at least in the case of Fukushima. That's what I would like us to concur and agree upon that. Next one, please. And it was the mindset and that. Okay, you may go through that report of government of ministerial thing and that. Just go. Next one, please. Don't have time for that. Next one. Next one. Next one. Okay. This is a very important thing. I mentioned to you, yes, go through that. Very good. Okay, stop there. We talk about 3 Mile Island, happened in 1979, but there was an accident, another nuclear reactor, which is called stationary reactor number 1. That happened before that in 1961. What you see over there when 3 Mile Islands happened in 1979, many people, they refer to that accident. And again, those areas in red, you see that. They said that we should have paid attention to this management factor, human factors, organizational factors over there. Bhopal happened in 74, then we moved to Chernobyl in 86. You see Valery Legazov said that we should have learned from Bhopal. And then fast forward to 2011, Kiyoshi Kurokawa said in his report that we should have learned from 3 Mile Island, from Chernobyl for Fukushima. My point is, in year 20XY, would we say that we should have learned from SL1, 3 Mile Island, Chernobyl, and Fukushima for the next nuclear accident, or we have got enough learning? Next one, please. And the last word, those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat that. This is by George Santayana. Next one. This is a book that came out last year by my good friend, Professor Sergei Polikhiv. For those of you that are interested in Chernobyl, I strongly recommend you to read and buy this book. He's a Harvard professor, director of Ukrainian Institute at Harvard. What Sergei says, this is a very important thing. While world attention is focused on the non-proliferation and that, we need to strengthen our international collaboration and cooperation. And then he also says that, next one, please. And the most crucial lesson that Chernobyl told us is the importance of counteracting the danger posed by nuclear nationalism. And then, of course, the issue of populism, nationalism, and anti-globalism that we are dealing with in our neighborhood here. And next one. And then I think this is a very important thing, and I want to end with that statement by Sergei, that the world has experienced one nuclear accident at Chernobyl, another one at Fukushima. The reason I put Persian Gulf over there, because there are 4 nuclear reactors in Abu Dhabi, and one in Iran, and they will be building more nuclear reactors in that area. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, we have 450 nuclear reactors in the world. 450. There are 55 more under construction. That makes it 500. And there are 4 countries that are newcomers: Belarus, Bangladesh, Turkey, United Arab Emirates. And there are some other countries like Jordan and Egypt that are going to build one. This is the lesson of Chernobyl that I would like to leave it with you, that we have to work hard to prevent the next Chernobyl. And I'm so happy to see such a young generation over here. I hope that you got the message. Thank you for your attention.
And thank you, Professor Meshkati, for a very important information regarding the need for safety for the current and the new nuclear reactors, particularly because of the energy potential that they can help us in our endeavor to control the climate change. Our next presenter is Ms. Oksana Leshchenko, Policy Specialist at the United Nations Department. Would you like to tell? Please don't forget to put your questions on the floor. We will have some time to answer some of them. So take the opportunity to ask the questions that are most pertinent.
Can you hear me?